Now, the real fun part starts after all this ministerial stuff, and that is really, I want to introduce you to my next two guests. First, I'd like to introduce you to John Harwood, Editor-at-Large of CNBC. This is the 4th year of our partnership with CNBC. If you go by, you will see the studios out here, and it's a great partnership. John? Welcome, John. John is going to be talking with our distinguished guests, please. And now I am just bursting with pride. You know, when we select the content, Melissa Medina, my daughter, who's in charge of content, it's a team effort because everybody puts in their 2 cents worth. You know, as you know, the opening keynote speaker every year is one of our most important speakers. And you've seen the lineup, right? I mean, from Colin Powell, Deepak Chopra, Peter Diamandis. We've had an incredible lineup of opening speakers through the years. And this year, as we were looking to select who will be that keynote speaker many, many months ago, we could not have thought of a better person. Because we're living in really dangerous times when people are building walls. And really all these walls, in technology, those walls come down, right? And people connect with one another. And there are no walls that you can build. And this is really, so we wanted somebody that represented that thought, that really coming together is significantly better than being apart, right? So we decided on former President Vicente Fox. We were lucky that he was available. He understood the importance of emerging Americas. The first thing he asked me is, are there a lot of Mexicans there? And I said, yes. So basically, anyway, so we were really, really proud when he accepted. And he just had an unbelievable background. This guy started as a route supervisor in Coca-Cola, becoming president of Coca-Cola for Mexico and Latin America. Great success, began dabbling in politics, really started as a congressman, then became governor of the province of Guanajuato, and then turned that into becoming the 55th president of the great country of Mexico. I am incredibly honored and proud to have with us today President Vicente Fox.
Gracias. Muchas gracias por esa introducción. So, John, how are you?
Wonderful.
You're wonderful, and I'm impressed and nervous. May I address?
Please.
Thank you very much, because I know you are going to be making some tough questions later on.
I'm just the journalist.
And
you're
good
the
for you.
principal.
Morning. Let me start right to the point. Today there is a big debate on the global arena, which is questioning globalization, is questioning the fruitful enlightenment and how the world has progressed so significantly in these last 3 decades. In front of that, we have the claim that we must go back to nation states, that we must go back to the preeminence of government and the state over and above individuals. So this debate is profound. It's not on the public arena of communication, but it's underground. So we see in 2016 the Brexit, a move to separate from Europe, a move to isolate, a move in a way to discriminate what has been the most energetic trend that has promoted the growth of this world, which is migration. Now everybody thinks that migration stinks, that we should be very careful with the control of our borders with these powerful nation states. And right after the Brexit, then we have Catalonia in Spain, also on a movement to separate from the motherland, the great Spain. And then this is beginning to spread out with the election of a Senor Trump here in this nation that has not yet shown what is below the surface, has not clearly presented to the American people where he's taking this nation. He's got a plan, he knows where he's going, but I don't think US public opinion knows what the path is and knows what is going to happen with this nation. Very strong reverse trends, very strong economic positions of isolation. What speed up progress in this world to reach the peak of progress and success, one of those instruments was trading. And now he's denying trading as a win-win situation. To put it on a zero sum, you win, I lose. I win, you lose. Same thing with tariffs and barriers for moving products and services throughout the world. Okay, this is the global picture. On one side, the extreme, most successful era of humankind, and on the other one, trends to reverse, to put a limit to that progress. But then we have what you're here for, technology. Technology unites, technology links, technology bridges all across the globe, every nation, every community, every individual. So the bet of the future must be technology. And yet we have to see this 21st century full of surprises, because we're moving on the direction of the Enlightenment. We're moving on the direction of number one, science. Number two, reason. Everything must be sustained and reasoned so that we go forward. And number three, most important, that other trend doesn't have is humanism. Is humanism the power that will move this world throughout the 21st century? So we'll see a lot of surprises. As I mentioned, all of them good surprises, like expectancy of life, moving up to 130 years of life before the end of the century. It's going to be boring, no doubt. But imagine all that amount of time, extra time, that we all are going to have to be very humane, to be strong leaders, to be very compassionate in building this better world. I come down to the region, America. We all have the same dream for the continent, for America. We all try to work together. We all try to move ahead with new trends, new experiences, new technologies. Latin America is on the move. It's growing at rates higher than the average in the world. It has grown the last 2 decades at rates of 6, 8, even 10%. And all this due to the final step that we took to get rid of dictators that we suffered all along the 20th century. Dictators everywhere in Latin America. Fortunately, we got rid of them, and then Latin America progressed. Latin America moved ahead. So that's what we can expect of this continent, and that's why I praise so much this meeting that is building bridges between the vanguard in technology, the most advanced, sophisticated, state-of-the-art technology, connected to the continent of the future, connected to Latin America. And that's why we're all here for, and I thank this organization and this meeting because of pursuing building bridges instead of walls. North America. North America has, right now, uncertainty. We have built together this powerful bloc of nations, the most successful region in the world, tied up together with NAFTA, with the trade agreement, with the partnership that we decided to go for, Canada, United States, and Mexico. Today, again, is being questioned, and we must ensure and reassure that the future of this region, the leadership that this region exercises all around the world, cannot be stopped, because North America has become that leading region, because North America is the most competitive region in the world, because NAFTA has accomplished its purpose, number one, to bring progress and competitiveness to the region. Number two, in upgrading, in the case of NAFTA, Mexico that was lagging behind. Now the gap has narrowed to half of what it was 25 years ago. Comparable income between US and Mexico used to be tenfold. You would make $1 in Mexico when you learn to swim, cross the border, jump walls, and then you will making $10. Who of you would not go for that powerful economic incentive of moving your income from 1 to 10? So we're talking about an economic issue, the case of the border and the case of NAFTA. So that's what we have progressed, and the next generation, next 25 years, I can forecast and say, upon my belief, that we're going to be 1-to-1 instead of 5-to-1 that we're today. So from 10-to-1 gap in income to 5-to-1 today to 1-to-1 in the next generation, 25 years. So the future looks bright, and we must stay on path. Finally, a word about Mexico. Mexico's the 12th largest economy in the world. But Mexico is always within the 10 largest consumer markets in the world, including technology. So it's a huge, attractive market where 75% of its population is middle class consumers that are ready and willing to work on the marketplace to expand. So this Mexico is strongly competitive today on agribusiness, number one in competitive indicators in the world. Number two in manufacturing. Just as an example, the region where I come from, places of Querétaro, Guanajuato, San Luis Potosí, Aguascalientes, we have 11 huge automobile manufacturing plants, state-of-the-art plants with all their clusters around. No other region in the world has as many. No other region in the world or economy in the world is as competitive in manufacturing as Mexico is today. Due to NAFTA, yes. Due to universities' knowledge and technology in Mexico, yes. Due to hard-working, productive, quality labor, yes. That's what Mexico learned on these late years, and that's what Mexico it is today. The most competitive manufacturing place in the world. Even investments that went to China, all of them are coming back to Mexico. But Mexico is now overlapping the knowledge economy upon the manufacturing economy. Now Mexico is beginning to be a player on technology. Places like Guadalajara, like Monterrey, and others in Mexico are showing that we have those capabilities, that we have the universities, that we have the talent, and that we have the will to stand on technology and to put all of our bet in technology to the future. Final word, last night, thanks God, Lopito showed his poverty of mind, his lack of intellectual capacities, his lack of leadership to lead a nation that is a leading nation in the world, which needs a very competitive, most modern, most knowledgeable, most leader to keep running our nation. So I feel relaxed. I had some great oxygen because he who was leading up until yesterday showed how poor his capacities are. So thanks God, Mexico has a future today. Thank you.
Well, thank you, Mr. President. And first of all, you made me feel a lot better. You've explained that income inequality is going to go away and that I'm going to live to be 130 years old. But what I want to know is, what exactly am I going to be doing when I'm 115?
Without what? Excuse me?
What am I going to be doing when I'm 115 years old? Golf?
Let me tell you, yes, golfing, reading, vacationing, getting the income that robots are going to be producing for you. Mm-hmm. No more jobs. Robots are going to work for us. So it's a wonderful world.
And what is Donald Trump going to be doing at 130?
Tell you one thing for sure, he's not going to be president of the United States.
Yeah. But will there be a wall? Will there be a wall between our countries?
I don't know. It's your decision, I mean the American people. If American people wants to pay for the wall, let it be. We don't care in Mexico if you build a wall. If you waste your money.
You're not paying for it?
Huh?
You're not paying for it?
That's exactly. We are not paying for that fucking wall. That's for sure. No. And why should we? Why should we? I mean, it's incredible, these pitches that he's trying to throw hardball to Mexico. We're offended. We're really offended. We don't like what he has said about Mexico and Mexicans. Every Mexican now is very clear that we must fight, that we must resist, that he will go away one day, I hope soon, and that Mexico is much more than this relationship, because although today we trade within NAFTA close to $1 trillion US dollars every year, by far the largest trade balance in the world, putting together Canada, United States, and Mexico. And we are not the little guy on the backyard. We stand for that partnership. We import from this nation a huge amount of money that accounts for over 10 million direct jobs to this economy. So Mexico is a solid partner, but more so it brings competitiveness to the US economy. Remember, just not long ago, Chrysler, Ford, GM went broke. And taxpayers had to rescue those corporations, and they were saved. And today they became NAFTA corporations, and they're successful again.
Do you think Trump actually believes the things he says about Mexico and immigrants, or is he performing, trying to get votes?
Well, what I see is stupidity on what he considers the best, most virtuous process of negotiating. So his first intention is to defeat his opponent. And once he has defeated his opponent, then he proposes something to negotiate with. I think it's the wrong strategy, because on the process of negotiating, you're destroying so many things. It's going to be extremely difficult for him to regain the loyalty, the friendship, the partnership of Mexico. It's going to be very difficult to deal with China or Russia under the conditions that he has placed them upon. And it's going to be very difficult that kid in North Korea, he is playing the same that Trump. So we're in the hands of two kids with the red button, with the atomic bombs, and our fate and our future is in the hands of these two kids.
You were a businessman before you were a politician, just like Trump. You didn't use his strategy, his negotiating strategy. Yours was different?
Not that kind. I always believe that you must listen to the other, that you must understand your opponent, that you must try to reach a point of linking or joining in, because two produce more than one. If you divide, you're only half of one.
Now, if I understood you correctly, you said you thought that the president, our president, has only revealed part of what his agenda is, that there's much more coming that we have not seen. What do you mean by that?
Well, what I see, and I've been debating with this fellow Farage, creator of the Brexit and promoter of the Brexit, about nation state, about a powerful government that controls borders but also controls individuals, that we will lose all of our freedom of thought, that we will be asphyxiating innovation, creativity under powerful governments. And I say this because of what we suffered in Latin America through the 20th century. We did not grow as citizens, as society, as community, because we had these powerful gorillas on top of us, that they will say and claim that they will solve all of our problems. If you don't have a job, don't worry, he says, in this case Trump, I'll bring him back from Mexico. If you have fear, don't worry, I build a wall and protect you. If you have fear that we might be defeated, don't worry, we have atomic bombs and we're going to have the most powerful army in the world. So it's pure populism, these answers that he gives to people. And unfortunately, people, and I understand this, especially in Latin America, yes, when you're poor, when you don't have opportunities, when you have fear, you claim and you bring in those powerful, authoritarian leaders to guide your future. That's not what the world is today. The world of today has and gathers all its energy out of each single human being. And like Dalai Lama said, the world belongs to humanity, belongs to persons, to human persons, not to dictators, not to governments, not to authoritarian governments. The world, then, he follows, nations belong to their citizens, not to one guy. Look at Maduro. He appropriated Venezuela for himself, and he is imposing upon millions of Venezuelans his will. And that's the problem with authoritarian governments. You close up the door to innovation, to a future, to individual initiatives.
Now, many of the people who supported Trump in the election are people who are fearful about and anxious about the way that the United States is changing. Country's becoming more diverse, the economy's changing, technology is changing the economy. There are many people, including those with less education, who have not adapted to that economy. And all of those emotions, I think, played into the election. My question for you is, in 25 years or so, the United States is no longer going to be a majority Caucasian country. As we get closer to when we are a majority-minority country, are those passions that produced Trump going to get stronger or weaker?
Well, who knows? The only thing that seems certain, and it was stated by Colin Powell when he said, this nation must be very committed with minorities, because minorities will become majorities in the near future. And so we must educate, we must give access to education, we must give access to technology, access to opportunities to those minorities, so that we have the strong leadership that will be running this nation later in the future. But it's difficult to say what's going to happen. The thing is that we all are created equal, that we all must have same opportunities, that we all own this home, this global home of 8 billion people, that we all have to be here and that we all have a need to progress. And this is what happened in this last 30 years. It's incredible the way Africa has prospered and has progressed. It's incredible the way Latin America has progressed and has prospered in these late 3 decades. And all of this because of you leading technological minds, leading science minds that have provoked this phenomena. And as I said before, the future looks more brighter than. And the only thing that can stop this future that we have ahead is violence, is war. That's the only thing that can stop those wonderful things to happen on this 21st century.
Let me ask a question about you. You have seemed to very much enjoy challenging, calling out President Trump. You've got the T-shirt, can't build a wall if your hands are too small. Why have you chosen this role? As you know, during the campaign, some people, Marco Rubio, for example, decided to take on Trump using humor and mocking him, and many of them ended up feeling that they had made a mistake, that it had diminished them. Why have you chosen this approach?
Well, being very candid, this T-shirt is to raise money, because Martha and I, we have 3 foundations to nourish, and all 3 of them live out of income that we raised. The conferences I do, this one, the income I get here, I donate to the 3 foundations.
How is the T-shirt selling?
Quite well, but they have not reported yet. I'm waiting to see. They might be getting the profit and not we. But second, and I think it's very important on the case of Trump. I think I selected the right sparring. And not only I'm trying to influence as much as I can on this nation, because it's my nation too. Because half of what you see here is American blood. My grandfather was born in Cincinnati, Ohio. And he came down to Mexico as a migrant without a penny in his pocket back in 1895. So I love this nation. I want the best for this nation. That's one reason why I selected this sparring. But there's a second reason. I've been now 10 years out of the presidency, out of the administration. I started getting income from conferences, really high level. A lot of income I got the first, second, and third year when I left the administration. But that's been coming down and down and down. I do a lot of conferences for free now. And I'm down to $25,000 US. I used to be 200,000. So as I need money, I need to refresh myself. And I said, I'm very candid, but I need money for the foundations.
Are you doing this one for free?
No.
Okay, so you were elected.
By the way, I'm doing a cannabis conference starting tonight and tomorrow. Because I think the answer to violence in Mexico, to homicides, to those 80,000 kids losing their lives in the streets of Mexico is legalizing. I think that's the way we're going to get out of that old paradigm. And we are going to move from crime, blood, and killings to a new industry. And that's why we're holding this huge global conference on cannabis next May the 30th and 31st in Vicente Fox. You're all invited to come. There's not going to be pot. You're not going to be able to smoke there. But you're going to be able to join this new industry as investors or participants.
Do you think 10 years from now, marijuana will be fully legal throughout this hemisphere?
No doubt. I don't have any doubt. It's a very nice, lovely plant. Marijuana coming from Mexico. Somebody made it bad. Somebody is making bad use of marijuana. But marijuana has a lot of virtues, has a lot of good medicine contents. And now using this plant for building an industry, I think is very wise. Instead of having the criminals take $55 billion US here every year. That's what they raise here in the United States. And then everybody blames Mexico. What's going on with those Mexicans? Are they going crazy? Are they drinking too much tequila? Why are they killing each other? Well, because we're in between. The mammoth, huge consumer market in the United States and the products and the drug coming from Venezuela, from Colombia, from Ecuador, from Bolivia. We just happen to be in between. We're trapped right there. We don't consume drugs significantly in Mexico. We don't produce drugs significantly in Mexico. Our marijuana is poor quality, bad one, in very small amounts. California produces much more marijuana than we can produce in Mexico.
So are you saying that the drug problem in the United States is not Mexico's fault?
Absolutely yes, and let me tell you, the headquarters, and we understand in business, headquarters, home office of the great cartel is here in the United States. It's not the Mexicans, we're not so smart. I mean, those who distribute here, those who raise the money here, those who benefit from crime and drugs are the U.S. cartels. They are here. Mexicans don't distribute the drug here in the States. It's done by this corporate headquarters of cartels in the United States. And then I asked myself, where is the DEA, or I don't know, the CIA, only persiguiendo Mexicans and migrants instead of doing something about drugs?
You were elected president in December of 2000 in Mexico. So Bill Clinton was just finishing his term. You then served with George W. Bush. You've watched Obama, and now you see Trump. Describe how you see, how you compare those presidents with one another, and what you see as the arc of U.S.-Mexico relations.
Well, let me first say that we deposit too much authority, too much capacities, too much challenge on the figure of the president. Really, this nation is as strong as ever has been and always has been because of this university system, for instance. It's incredible the power of universities here, the way they impact the good things that happen in this great country. It's corporate world, it's corporate structures, it's incredible. And denying Wall Street today, saying that it's the bad guy, when Wall Street's stocks are owned by over 60 million families in this nation. There is no other more powerful distributing system, distributing of income than Wall Street. And then you have the swamp. This guy, the swamp. Now he's on the swamp, and I mean Trump, the Washington swamp. I mean, there's great congressmen there, great senators, great public servants, great people. And now it's the swamp that is negative all the time. This is the denial of this new trend of strong states, of nation states, like they were back in Germany 100 years ago.
Is there a swamp in Mexico City too?
Well, the whole of the nation. No, we're immersed on profound corruption. And this is why candidate Meade is struggling so much, because he has this burden of corruption that PRI means, and that PRI is done throughout the history. So we need a change there. But who is exempt of corruption? I question here. In Latin America, it's called corruption. Here it's called lobbying, very elegantly, lobbying.
Well, let me put it this way. You've seen the United States becoming more and more integrated economically with NAFTA. Donald Trump is now saying that he is going to renegotiate NAFTA or rip it up. First of all, do you think it will be ripped up, or do you think there will be a new deal? And if there's a new deal, is it a better deal for the United States, or something that Trump will pretend to be a better deal for the United States?
Okay. First, again, to transit from private sector into public sector successfully, you need a lot of learning experiences before. I came from business. My mind was totally immersed on how to manage and run business. And I thought it was the same thing to do it in government. Believe me, it's absolutely different. There is no comparison. And to adapt to the new situation, at least in my case, took me 3 years of being a congressman, then 4 years of being a governor, and still learning what the difference was. And the first 2 years as president of Mexico, I yet had a lot of new experiences and new learning. This is the process that Senor Trump has to go through. There's no other way he can avoid it. Still, his mind is synced on the profound thinking of corporate, of management, of business running. So he's got a lot to learn in this process and a lot to change. Now, if he is going to succeed with his policies, many of them are intrinsically in the roots of the issue. Is wrong, the position. Is his positions have been confronted all along. It's wrong, his foreign policy. It's wrong to fight with everybody. It's wrong to offend everybody. It's wrong to offend women. It's wrong to be a rapist. Because when this so-called caravan of Central Americans that were crossing through Mexico, he said, watch out, here comes the Central Americans and the Mexicans. They're going to invade our nation. They are rapists again. It's only a feast of violations in this caravan. That caravan comes every day, all year long, every year, from Central America to Mexico. Today, Mexico's trend has totally reversed. Many more Mexicans coming back than coming in because we have the jobs now. We're full employment in most parts of Mexico. And it's Central Americans, but they are not the rapists he claims. So it's an evil mind. It's somebody that, yes, on one side shows a lot of goodwill to corporations like Latin American dictators did all along. Here is what you need. I'm going to give you this. I'm going to tax cut. I'm going to give whatever you want. I'm going to bring back the job. Now, the country will pay for that. Economy does not just move to positive terms. Every action has a reaction. Every decision has a consequence. The debt is now running very high. So he's exchanging the now for people here, giving them what people want, sacrificing the future. There's no doubt on that. And this is the policies of dictators. This is the policies of messianic and populist leaders.
We're going to take a couple questions from the audience in a moment, but one or two more things I want to get to with you. You have an election going on in Mexico right now. Is Russia messing around in your election?
We don't have those fixed negative positioning nations. We deal with Russia as we deal with everybody else. We don't have those background negative thoughts. We deal with China now more than before, because we need to replace. If NAFTA is not going to be there, Mexico has 48 trade agreements with everybody in the rest of the world. Let's not forget that 80% of global gross product is out there. It's not here in the United States, but only 20% of gross product. So I don't understand a leader of a nation isolating its citizens inside of four walls, jailing its citizens, its minds, its innovation capacities in four walls. I don't understand the leadership of this nation that has shown very successful throughout the last 50 years, now withdrawing back and saying, world, do it as you wish. I am America. I'm going to build a wall. I'm going to be a nation state, and the rest of the world, let it be. What's going to happen with GM, with Chrysler, with Ford? I mean, they make their profits out there. They are present in every market of the world. How he can think that he can come back, bring back those three corporations, jail them in 4 walls, and force them to produce here, they will lose all their competitive again. They're going to go broke again. Those jobs will never come back, the manufacturing jobs. The jobs that are coming in is the ones you are creating. Those are the jobs of the future. And manufacturing is fading away. It's robots that are taking over. It's science, it's technology that is taking over. And that's a reality.
You mean it's not stupid trade deals?
Trade deals are the greatest thing that happened to this world. This nation has been a Phoenician. When President Washington became president, what was his first move on economic policy? He sent Jefferson. He sent the brightest minds that he sent to Europe to trade with Europe. And that's the way this economy started moving ahead. It's trading is a nature to this economy, and it is to the rest of the world.
Let me just pin you down one final time. Do you think that we will stick with the existing NAFTA, that NAFTA will be ripped up because there's no new deal, or will there be a new deal?
The latest information we get is that there is going to be a NAFTA to the future that is going to be improved in several issues. Unfortunately, I thought that what was the claim and the demand for Canada and Mexico to increase salaries was going to progress. Unfortunately not. I think Mexico needs badly to improve its income to working people and to employees and to Mexican people in general. I think salaries should go up. And by the way, they are going up because now we're full employment. I can tell you, for instance, 3 comparisons. This is the automobile industry. Let's say GM on the production line, what they're paying, comparing to the cartels. Cartels pay 50% more than what a worker gets on the GM production line in Mexico. And we farmers, and I include myself in there and the family, we farmers are paying 1.2 equivalent of GM salary. So this means that all salaries are going up. What we need is to get cartels out of the picture, because it's not fair that these kids that were not born criminals, that do not have criminality in their genes, when they don't have a job, when they don't have a scholarship to go to university, then they join the cartels, and they are very competitively paying. Unfortunately, in that case, we lose 80,000 kids every year killed on the streets of Mexico because of that reason.
But you think there will be a new deal?
Yes, 95% of possibilities now, fortunately.
Okay.
Fortunately. This is another false prophet promise that is not going to be real.
Yeah, and then finally, before I go to a couple of questions, in case he's watching the live stream, is there anything you'd like to say to President Trump that you haven't said already?
Yes, Trump apologized to Mexico, to Mexicans. And then we can have your taco bowl and your fucking tower. Gracias. Gracias.